Okay, this is like the third time I tried to film this, so I hope it works out. Hi, today I wanted to share with you my 21 favorite books of 2021, which was actually my cousin's idea, so thank you, Hanya. This list was very hard to make because I'm incredibly indecisive, and because I didn't like rate my favorite books whilst I was reading them. I only got a story graph like a few months ago, so yeah, I kind of just had to like remember which is fun. I obviously remember what I read, but I don't know if the list is so accurate. Like the order changes every time I compile it, so don't trust the order, just trust the books. Like the 21 books, they're definitely the best, but you know, just because something is at number 17 doesn't mean I shouldn't be at number 3 which I know sounds insane, but if you knew how my brain worked, you would understand. So let's just get started, and I'll start at the bottom, of course, but again, bottom means really good. I love every single book on this list. I actually don't have the 21st book, so it's the worst one to start with. I have it at my parents', but pretend it's here, and it's The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris. I read this book in August and I was so obsessed with it. I just really wanted to know what would happen at the end, and I did not predict it at all. I honestly wouldn't even tell you anything about it, but just to make this video a bit interesting, I'm just gonna say it's about this girl Nella, who's the only black girl in her publishing company, and then another black girl starts and people like her better, and that's all I'm gonna say. I honestly wouldn't read anything else about it. I would just buy it and read it. It's really good. I actually have the next one. It's Ghosts by Dolly Alderton. Loved it so much. I told so many people to read this. I thought it was amazing. It's about this food writer in her 30s. I want to be a food writer in my 30s. Who has some family issues and is also single, but then she meets someone, and well, the title says it all, but you still don't expect it to happen the way it does. So read it. It will make you cry, it will make you scream, but also like laugh and just love life. I honestly really loved it, and I love anything that's set in London. This is mostly set in London. So next up, Kafka on the Shore. This is by Haruki Murakami, and it's only so low down because I read it already when I was a teenager. I don't remember how old I was, but you can tell that I was a teenager because I underlined all the like sentences that are like, I'm so lonely, or life is so hard. They're all underlined. Like, if you haven't read any Murakami, maybe start with this one. It was my first one. I guess this can't be said about all his books, but he just kind of takes you on a journey through Japan, but also other worlds, and he just writes so beautifully. It's like a long poem basically. It has two main characters and it kind of switches between them. One is a teenage boy, I think he's 15, but he says he's 17, whose name is Kafka, so I guess that explains the title, and an old man called Nakata, I think. Yes, this has talking cats, it has fish falling from the sky, it has interesting characters. It just has everything that a Murakami novel has, and I don't think anyone could not be into that. It's very like mysterious. That's why I'm trying to not give out too much, because I'm so scared of spoiling it and you don't really understand why the two main characters are connected for a long time. Just read it and enjoy it and figure out what it means. Number 18 probably counts as 3 books because it's so huge. Pause right now and comment below what you think it is. And no, it's not the Bible. Infinite Jest. I can't believe I read this. My boyfriend got it for me for my birthday, I think, and I was like, you think I'm gonna read this? And he was like, if anyone can, it's you. And I did it. Did I understand all of it? I don't think so. Did I still like it? Yes. I think this is genius. I think it's absolutely insane, but it's still genius. I would love to read it again just because once I finished it, there were so many parts that I wanted to go back to, but it's almost 1,100 pages, but it's so good. So this is based in the future. It doesn't have real year. So there's like year of the depend adult undergarment, year of dairy products from the American heartland, and just crazy things like that. So years do not have numbers. And it's about kids in this tennis academy, but also people in a rehab center, and also some like Canadian gangsters in, what do you call them in English? Wheelchairs. So just like bad people in wheelchairs. Great book. I want to say read it, but do you have the time? My sister's currently reading the next book, so I obviously don't have that either, but it's Scar Tissue by Anthony Keatus. Yes, it's the guy from Red Hot Chili Peppers, and it's just his life story. And I kind of hated it when I started it just because I feel really uncomfortable reading about kids doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And I don't know if that's because I took a long time to grow up, but I don't like it. However, once he was like 18 or 19, I was like, whatever, all kids do this. So I ended up liking it way more. I'm actually kind of surprised he's still alive, but also very happy that he is. Love the book. Got me absolutely obsessed with Red Hot Chili Peppers. I used to kind of listen to them when I was younger, but I wasn't like a stan. But after reading that, I'm just like, wow, they're so cool. So I really want to read Flea's book as well. That's on my 2022 to read list. Number 16, The Well of Loneliness. I loved this book so much when I was reading it, and then the last few chapters just weren't doing it for me, but I do get why it's written the way it's written, and I understand the ending, but I just didn't care anymore. I was like, I read about your whole life, Stephen. Enough. Like, I need to meet other people. Other than that, I thought this book was amazing. I think this is like the original NB Legend book. I don't know if Stephen would actually consider herself non-binary, but in the book she goes by she, so that's how I will refer to her. But this was written a very long time ago, so things do change. But yeah, Stephen is a gay woman who also just, you know, dresses like a man and enjoys manlier activities. A lot of sad things happen to her. This was published in 1928, so you can just imagine how different it was. I loved reading it so much, and I love that it takes you to different places. She moves to France at some point, she lives in Paris, but there's also other travels, and it's just so good. Again, not a fan of the end, but it's fine. And I kind of ended up hating Stephen, but I don't think you have to like characters to like a book, so that's also fine. So if you want to get some lesbian love stories, read this one. Apparently for decades it was the single most famous lesbian novel, so that's very cool. I don't know what it would be replaced with now, but yeah, read it. Next up is Elena Ferrante novel, which again is not with me, but it is Days of Abandonment, I think. I read it in Italian, so it's called I giorni dell'abbandono, and it was so beautiful. I got so anxious reading it because I just thought the writing was so good that I kind of was the protagonist. When you get so into a book that you think you're part of that world, that's like good writing. So this woman gets abandoned by her husband after many years of being together. I don't remember how many exactly, but they have children and they have a dog, and it's so stressful. I just thought that I was in that position and I'm not even married, and I was like crying, and just it's torture, but it's good torture, because as I said, you know, a book is well written if you think you're literally there. So 10 out of 10. The Days of Abandonment, Elena Ferrante, read it. This is getting a bit ridiculous, but I don't have the next book either. I read a lot of ebooks this year, and I also give a lot of books that I like to my friends, and they're slow readers, so I never get them back. It's Tiny Moons, A Year of Eating in Shanghai by Menya Powells, and it was so beautiful. As you can imagine, it's a book about food. I love food. Menya Powells is so young, and I don't know how she's such an incredible writer. I think she's amazing. But anyways, this book is kind of just a love letter to food and to her culture. She is part Chinese and part Malaysian, but either was born or just grew up in New Zealand. So you get these three cultures, and yeah, she obviously goes to Shanghai. That's the title of the book. And she talks about her life there through food, and it made me so hungry, and I just started craving Chinese food like all the time, which is crazy because I did not used to eat Chinese food, and now I'm obsessed. So thank you, Nina. And yeah, I think anyone who is a foodie should really read this book, but also anyone else. So book number 13 is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. It's heavily inspired by Lolita, and it mentions it a lot, and it's about this girl. How old was she? She was 15 when she started dating her teacher, who was obviously much older than her, and this is just a story of her coming to terms with the fact that it wasn't a relationship, and you know how messed up it was. I have chills just saying that right now, just thinking about this book. It's incredibly good, incredibly messed up. I just, some pages were so hard to read. It's so disgusting, but so good. I love anything that's messed up. So, by the way, I don't know why I'm saying it so late on, but I'm sick. I don't normally sound like this, so I'm sorry about that. And I think you should subscribe so you can hear me talk normally when I'm no longer sick. Next up is the Bible. I'm kidding, obviously. I don't know if you can read it, but it's Unkind by Charlie Kaufman. This book is absolutely insane. It's narrated by an incredibly unreliable narrator. It's just, you can't tell what's real and what isn't. Maybe none of it is real. It has this really funny chapter about Donald Trump. I talk about it all the time. It just made me laugh, but all of it made me laugh. Extremely problematic main character. I mean, it literally starts with him saying something about like thinking about his African-American girlfriend's butt or something like that. That's one of the first pages, and he keeps referring to this girlfriend of his as his African-American girlfriend. And I think this tried to be this, but don't tell anyone. But I think he did it better, because this is way more accessible. It's just easier to read. It's still just as massive and just weird, like completely bizarre. Nothing should make sense, but it somehow does. So this, very easy to read, just as wild as this, but like 300 pages shorter, which is still a lot of pages, but worth it. I think this is the new Infinite Jest. Next up is a book I don't have. I gave it back to my sister, but I re-borrowed it to reread it for the third time, and it's The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I've just been wanting to reread it. I read it when I was like 18. I thought it was like the most relatable book ever. It isn't, but it's good. Sylvia Plath is an incredible writer, and if you don't know what it's just about this depressed girl who is broke, but she gets scholarships, so she has all these opportunities, and she gets to go to New York, and we read about her life there, and then she doesn't get her next scholarship, and it's kind of like her life is over. Yeah, she gets even more depressed after that, and she ends up in a mental institution, and it's really good. It's really sad and really messed up again, but it's good. A lot of books that I love were written in different times, so things that were okay to write then are definitely not okay to write now, and I hate reading those things, but they're there. So yeah, some of it sucks, but other than that, excellent book. Sylvia Plath owns my heart. Okay, I'm so excited about this. Number 10. Also, you know how at the beginning I said this list could be in a completely different order? When I made this list last week, this was number 4, so Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis. It's just about this boy, Clay, who goes back home to LA for Christmas because he's in college. And yeah, there's just parties and drugs and people that hang out but don't actually like each other. Again, a messed up book. How many times have I said I really like messed up stories? But I do. And really short, so if you just want to like start reading again in 2022 but you don't know where to start with a short book. It's 195 pages. That's nothing. You can read this in 2 days. Number 9 is Expectation by Anna Hope. This book is so good. It's so good. So it's about these 3 girls who live in London. Again, it's my weakness. But yeah, Expectation. 3 girls. They are friends and they think things will stay like that forever, and that even though their lives will change, their relationship won't, which is not that realistic, and a lot of things happen in this. I cried a lot. So good. I don't think I loved any of the characters, but I still felt all their pain and all their happiness too. It was just so great. A very emotional book. I feel like crying just thinking about it. Number 8 is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This book, I'm sure you've seen it everywhere. I'm sure you know, it makes people cry. It's just recommended by everyone for a good reason. However, people don't give trigger warnings, and people should, especially for this book. There's a lot of people that I wouldn't recommend this to. If you've self-harmed before, don't read this book. Having said that, this book was incredible. I sobbed. There's just this one thing that happens in it that killed me. I cried myself to sleep. My face was so puffy the next day. It was disgusting. I just could not stop crying. It's very sad, and I think she wrote this and was like, well, how much can I torture people? Like, what is too much? And I think she reached the too much, but like in a good way. I think it's great. I've heard many people that were like, no, this is pure pain, why would you read it? But why not? Next up is Exciting Times by Anisha Dolan. This book gets compared to Sally Rooney's work a lot. At first I was like, wow, just because they're both Irish. But then I read Conversations with Friends, and okay, I kind of get it. Like, I don't think you should compare them anyway, but like, I'll allow it. This book is so good. It's about this Irish girl who moves to Hong Kong, and she meets a man who, he's just like that man, you know? He's like, I don't care about you. But then he still lets her stay at her house, and he refuses to be her boyfriend, and you know, he's just like that dude. And then he goes to, I think he goes somewhere for a work trip. I don't even know where because I don't care about him. And she meets someone else, and that's all I'm gonna say. But so good. I want this to be a movie or a TV show or anything. Just give me more. My next book was lent to me by my friend Olga, so again I don't have it because I gave it back, but it's My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Tessa Moshfeg, and I know I am that girl, but I just love it so much. I read it in one go. I literally just got up one day, started it, and I didn't do anything else until I finished that book. It's about this privileged girl who decides she wants to sleep for a year. She's not a nice person. She kind of hates her best friend. She's very messed up in the head. She has her reasons to be. Yeah, it's not a book about sleeping, I can tell you that. I, again, don't have the next book. It's Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. I did not expect to love this book as much as I did. It was so good. I was so mad when I finished it. I really wanted to punch some people up, some book characters, but if you read it, I'm sure you know exactly who I mean. Some people are. This book is about this 25-year-old black girl who is a babysitter while all her friends are kind of moving forwards in life, and I guess she feels a bit lost, and also she's not happy to be a babysitter, but she also really loves the kid that she looks after. I'm just gonna say there's a bit of a love story that happens, there's a little racism that happens. I recommend it. I wish I had it. I don't, but read it. Number 4. Clothes, clothes, clothes. Music, music, music. Boys, boys, boys. By Viv Albertine. So Viv was in a band called The Slits, and this is about her life from when she was a child. It's quite funny. The first chapter is about masturbation, and I was like, am I reading the right book? But I was. I think this book is so good. It mentions a lot of iconic people that she was friends with or just knew. This book also made me really hate Sid Vicious. She was his friend. This is not like a Sid Vicious hating book. She actually liked him. I'm saying that reading the things that I read, I think he's gross, was gross, but whatever. I also absolutely love that she did not know how to play an instrument and was just like, I want to be in a band, and decided to learn how to play the guitar, because I did not know how to play the bass when I joined my band, and now I do, and we're incredible. So I'm like, are we the Slits? No, we're better, and we actually get along. But obsessed with this book. It's one of those that I've just been recommending to like everyone. It also kind of traumatized me a little, and I cried a lot, but it traumatized me for the best. Right, I know I keep saying this, but I do not have the next book. I read it on some like online reading app, but it's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I know that everyone recommends this book, and I know that you may get tired of hearing about it, but everyone recommends it for a reason. So the title definitely tricks you. Evelyn does talk about her husbands, but that's not what the book is about. I'm definitely gonna buy a physical copy and also reread it because I miss it so much. So Evelyn was this famous movie star, and she was kind of like a sex symbol, and she got married 7 times, but she always said that she only had one love of her life, and well, we find out who it is, and it's just really cute. My heart. I love that book. Number 2 is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This book made me cry a lot. I keep saying that books make me cry, but surely that's an amazing thing, right? If you're so into a book that you're crying real tears, that's so beautiful. This is about this like coffee shop in Japan where people can go to and sit at a specific table, and they can time travel. You get coffee poured for you when you sit down, and you have to come back from whichever year you're going to before the coffee gets cold. Again, really short book, really easy to read. I highly recommend it. And at number 1, of course, the only way to end a video where I keep saying I don't have this one is to put my favorite book as something that I don't have, which is Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. I read it on Scribd, but I'm gonna buy a copy. I'm obsessed with this book, and when I decided to make this video, I just knew that Boy Parts would be #1. Again, really dark, really messed up. It's what I'm into, but it's so good. It's about this girl who lives in Newcastle, and she enjoys taking inappropriate pictures of boys, and actually the book starts with her getting in trouble for that. And just like in my year of rest and relaxation, she hates her best friend. She's a horrible person. She's just not someone I'd ever want to meet, but I loved reading her story. And again, it's one of those that I just really didn't know where it was going, and that plot twist just shocked me. Wow, so good. I forgot a freaking book. I was gonna give you a trigger warning, and then I was like, did I talk about A Little Life? I didn't. So 1 second. So I don't know what I was saying about Boy Parts because I ruined it by remembering that I hadn't mentioned A Little Life. So I'm just gonna say it was the best book that I read this year, and I highly recommend it. Thank you so much for watching this. I cannot believe we made it to the end. Can't wait to read more books next year. I think I won't post anything until 2022, so Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and I hope you just have the best holidays and don't get COVID as a Christmas present like some people. And yeah, see you in the next one. Goodbye.